Hey everyone, Charlie here, long time no see. I hope you're all doing well. I just want to make this video to give you guys kind of an update. Before I do that, I want to say thank you to everybody who has prodded me a little bit on Twitter or left some comments on YouTube while I've been away from the platform, just, saying that even though I haven't been around for a while, you're hoping that I come back and that you still like the old videos and stuff like that. So that's been really, really encouraging. So I just want to say thank you for that. Originally, what I wanted to do with this first video back, I'm hesitating a little bit to say back, but this first video back was to make a one cuppa and walk around and make it a little bit more interesting for you guys. But unfortunately, the weather's been really bad this morning. It's just been sort of raining nonstop, and to carry an umbrella and the camera and somehow also carry a cuppa is nigh impossible. So anyway, I still talk about the same things, and I still have a cuppa, kind of, but sorry, the scenery won't be nearly as interesting as it was meant to be. So let's just keep this really light. What I really want to do, probably not even going to edit this, I just want to put it up as is, kind of raw. And I want to do the whole real talk thing. So basically, maybe a couple months ago, I was listening to a podcast. What would it have been? I think it was Big Think or Think Again. Big Think, which is a Think Again podcast, and the guest was Neil deGrasse Tyson, I think. Or maybe it was Nerdist with Neil deGrasse Tyson. It doesn't matter, but they were talking about something. I think it was about black holes and about the idea of God, what is it called? When so basically, there's always despite the fact that there's supposed to constantly be the same amount of energy, right? Like it's mass and energy and destruction of energy and matter and stuff like that. The universe is constantly losing energy because of entropy, right? And so basically what will eventually happen is that the universe will just sort of die. And I don't know why. I don't know why that, of all things, set me off, but it put me in this place where I was just like, oh my God, like how unfair is it that everything just sort of ends? And it sort of put me in this mood where I was like, okay, well, it's sort of like this ineffable feeling that I had, where it's just like, well, I'm just gonna shut off someday, kind of thing, And it really sunk me. And it was sort of like being back in high school, except there were a lot fewer people calling me homophobic slurs. But it was like it was during the first times that I really had felt depressed, had really like a case of clinical depression. Not even a case, it's an ongoing thing I've talked about on this channel before. We don't need to dive into that too much, but anyway, so it put me in this place where I was just every day thinking about death and the things I was writing about. And even in like my journal, I keep a Japanese journal that I write in every day for the sake of practice, and even those topics were about death and what it means to live and what it means to exist, and all these sort of like super existential, super sort of dark, metaphysical sort of things were constantly on my mind. And my friends too knew something was going on, and I'm thankful, my friend Mel, who you guys know as Nippon Culture Quest, she's been on this channel before. She, and people like that really, even though I didn't want people to ask me about it or talk to me about it, I just wanted to sort of ignore it and forget about it. They did so despite my grumpy nature as a 30-year-old grandfather. So but the point being is that it sort of set me in this really dark place where everything seemed like torturous, as tends to be the case when the beast comes around, and so nothing had joy. Work, which I generally love doing. I generally and genuinely love my work. And I love studying Japanese, and I love meeting people, and I love traveling, and I love being a sloth and laying on the floor and watching Avatar, Legend of Korra for the umpteenth time, or whatever the case may be, but there was no joy in any of it. And I think that's something that's really hard for people to understand, is that when you think about depression, if you don't suffer from it, it's easy to think that it's just like a case of the blues, when in fact it's sort of like it's its own kind of entropy, right? To come back to that word, it's its own kind of sort of like vampiric thing where it sucks the color out of everything, to be extremely dramatic about it, but that's how it seems, is that everything does seem rather black and white, and you just struggle to find something beautiful in all of that, I think. And anyway, so I'm here, right? I'm back to my how can I say, I'm back to the self, the version of me who is not in that place right now. And usually a really big flare up like that doesn't come around that often anymore, thankfully, because I've found ways to deal with it, exercise and things like that, and being fairer to myself in certain aspects and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm here, and I'm through that patch. But I think it's hard to explain. And let's see, is this thing on? Yes, okay. And it's hard to explain, I guess, but without being too trite, it's really easy to look at situations like that and feel like, well, shit, I just wasted 2 months of my life in a deep, dark hole, right? And I get that impulse to think that way. But also, if you can, if ever you're in these situations, I think it's really helpful to keep a journal, for the sake of recording where your thoughts were and the things you were thinking about. Because after you come out of it and you're back into like a rational headspace, you can maybe look at those thoughts and understand like that those thoughts, a lot of the time, they don't come because you're depressed. They're aggravated or brought to the surface because you're depressed, or maybe you're trying not to think about something, and then you just don't have the strength to sort of keep that wall up anymore, and then they come up. So it's really helpful to look at those journals and see, okay, well, what is the healthy, what is the reason when I'm healthy that these things are there, that these problems are there, and why, how can I deal with them so that the next time this comes around, they're not just another cause, or whatever the case may be, right? Or not a cause, another thing jabbing at you and picking away at your mind and your sanity. So that being said, one of the things that repeatedly flared up was the idea that I talk and I don't do, and that's a shitty realization, and it's something I've known about myself for a long time. And if you've been around this channel for as long as the channel's existed, for example, there's a video from, I don't know, a couple months ago called Restart, Refresh, Renew. I don't remember, but basically, Reboot is the name of the video, and basically it's me talking and promising to you guys, talking about and promising to you guys the things that I want to do with the channel, right? Make these really sort of story-driven videos, and blah blah blah, and whatever. And so many times in so many videos I talk about these things, and I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of the times the people who talk the most ambitiously are the people who constantly talk the most ambitiously, right? And never do anything quite so ambitious, or they really drag their feet. And coming out of that phase, phase isn't the right word, but that flare, make it sound like herpes, but like that flare up of depression, what I realized is that that's part of the problem, is that a lot of the times, I think maybe Emily being Wikipedia, and I maybe talked about this a little bit once on a live stream over on the Burrow, about how a lot of times when you're sad, it's because you have something that you want to create, or that's not quite it. When you're a creative person, but you don't have a project, and so that kind of energy has no place to go, and it's sort of like this this negative feedback loop where it's like, okay, well, there's no place to go, so it comes back in, and it's like creative constipation. You're just really like, oh man, there's a brick in there, but it just won't come out. Really strange analogy, but and that's the thing. And even up until recently, somewhat recently, about a month or so ago, I was like, yeah, well, there's going to be videos by the end of September, which clearly it's, and one of the things I realized too is that if I don't start making videos again, now probably I'm not going to make them anymore, because to be frank with you, and this is sort of one of the things I need to point out, is video making cannot be a priority if I'm to accomplish the other things that really need to be priorities, being, well, I'll talk about them, but which is not to say that videos will not be made on this channel, but it is to say that I'm not going to make you any promises about how many videos come in a month or whatever the case may be. I will tell you that my ambitions for the kind of videos that I want to make remain unchanged. So if that means one video of what I consider to be high quality per month, so be it. If it means one video like that every 2 months, then that has to be the case. Because I love making videos, and I love the community. I love the community more than making the videos, probably. But it just cannot be a priority, and I hate to say that, and I hate to realize that. It was kind of a shitty thing to realize, but you cannot do everything that you want to do in life, right? It just, otherwise you end up accomplishing very few things, unfortunately. So I really have to pick and choose what I want to do. And coming out of the same thing is that I have lived in Japan now for almost 3 years, 3 years in December. And total, I'll have experienced 3.5 years of life in Japan, pretty much. Or now I have experienced 3.5 years of life in Japan, including my experiences studying abroad during university. And the truth of the matter is that despite the fact that I've lived here for all that time, in some ways I still live here as though I'm a tourist, a long-term tourist, right? And in some ways I've begun to, or I had begun to live here in some sense, a while back, meeting people, going to regular places and stuff like that. But what I mean to say is that I have no roots here, which is a strange thing, for a 30-year-old person who claims that he wants to live in some place for the rest of his life, to not really go about setting those things up. And I think part of it is fear. It's the realization that I have to sacrifice relationships with friends and family on a somewhat permanent basis, right? And so how that has expressed itself is in this sort of living irresponsibly. That's one thing. Not saving as much money as I could or should. It's sort of doing bad things to my body by like going out and drinking too much, and living in a way that I like maybe you would if you knew you were just going to leave and it didn't matter how people saw you or whatever the case was, right? And I just don't want to live like that anymore. Shut up, phone, you bitch. I just don't want to live like that anymore. I want to nurture the friendships that I have, and I honestly, I want to find somebody to experience life with. I want to find a partner, whether that means a platonic relationship or a romantic relationship. It doesn't really matter, but of course, platonically, if I could find like, I have 2 great friends right now, three great friends right now living in Japan, foreign friends, foreign, whatever, that doesn't matter. But I would love to find a partner, and that's something that I sort of have not been pursuing seriously, despite the fact that I know that that's a goal of mine. And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, then whatever. that's just, that is what it is. But the point is that, you know, I want to live like I live here, you know, if that makes sense. And I could go deeper into it, but hopefully you guys understand what I'm trying to say. And part of the thing that I actually should point out on that is that also reflects itself in Japanese, right? Or in my pursuit of Japanese. And I, you know, I studied regularly for a very long time, a couple hours a day for however long. But the type of studying was kind of lazy, if that makes sense. Like, it's like, okay, almost like a token effort kind of thing, right? Oh, well, I can say that I put in 3 hours a day every day for however long, right? And it's like, oh, but like ultimately, you know, how hard was I really working? That's the thing. Let's make sure. I haven't used the cameras in a long time, so I'm always a little nervous that maybe they aren't going to work for some reason. But yeah, so now like the N2, I'm taking the JLPT N2 in December, and I just signed up for a composition contest and a speech contest and stuff like that. And all of it is because I want to be serious about the things I do, you know, and I want to accomplish that goal, because speaking Japanese, not fluently, I don't know, well, fluently of course, but natively is, I don't need to speak natively. That would be great if I could, but that's not the goal. The goal is to be fluent and to live a rich life here without just those sort of friendly, like, oh, where are you from? Like, oh, you're Japanese, so great, blah, 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 conversations that you get all the time, right? Although those are fine. I appreciate people saying hello and whatever, but it's about truly having a life someplace and truly living someplace. So did I belabor that point enough? And so that's one thing, and that's one part of the reason why the videos can't be a priority, to be honest. But the other thing is that I think I fooled myself for a little while when the channel had gone through a couple growth spurts where I was like, oh, maybe I can be a YouTuber. And for some reason, you know, it was like, oh yeah, I can do this YouTube thing kind of thing. And it was this sort of like, you know, lying to myself almost, because that was easier than sitting down and putting the work into what I really want to do, which is write. And that's something I've been doing kind of behind the scenes, is writing somewhat regularly now and getting those things done, even if they're garbage, but being serious about that thing that I ultimately always wanted to do. You know, even though you know, at a glance it's easier for me to get my views out there, get my stories told through YouTube. That's ultimately not the way I want to tell them. So that's the other thing, is that has to take priority, right? It has to. So all of this to say, between, you know, actually living here, getting a real true handle on Japanese, and you know, making the things that I need to make for the sake of my own health, I think, and for my own ego, you know, let's be honest. That's why video making can't be a priority, despite my love of the medium and of the community and everything like that. There will be videos. I'll talk more at the end about this, but there's a live stream that I'll be doing this coming Sunday. And so the channel's not dead, but it can't, there's never going to be another Veda, whatever the fuck. Sorry, Mom. You know, it's just those things. It just doesn't appeal to me. But I will tell you that I am working on something. But that's all I want to say, because I want to put my money where my mouth is. Is that how that saying goes? I want to do it. I don't want to talk about it. So hopefully when I do it, you know, you guys will enjoy it. So anyway, that being said, so to just sum everything up, I'm here. There will be videos in a very slow trickle. I will be more visible again on social media and things like that. But there are things that have to take precedence. So I hope you guys can understand my thinking on that. As always, I appreciate the support from all of you. It's really, really heartening to see comments from people who have been with the channel since the beginning, like, oh, hey man, I hope you're doing fine. You know, I just want to say hi. I hope you'll come back people message me on Instagram, say the same thing and stuff like that. So it's really nice. It's really nice, and I cannot stress enough how much I appreciate it, and I hope I can continue to receive that support, even with you knowing that this ultimately has to be on the back burner for the foreseeable future. So I guess I'll finish it there by saying thank you always so much for watching, for the comments, for sharing, liking, subscribing, and all that jazz. And I hope you will join the live stream on Sunday, which I need to talk about that before we go. Live stream at 7 p.m. Japanese time, so that means like let's do a little later. Let's say 9 p.m. Japanese time, which would be I think 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Or is it EDT? It doesn't matter. It'll be 7 a.m. on the East Coast of the United States, so please figure out your times based on those two reference points. And there will be more info put up on Twitter, and I hope you guys will join. I'm not really sure about the topic yet, which I'm sure makes you want to come when I'm being so wishy-washy about it, but there will be a thing, and I'll post a topic and all that jazz on Twitter. Maybe you guys can even vote for the topic. Maybe that's what I'll do. And yeah, and then we'll take it slow, and we'll get some cool things made. And yeah, thanks always for watching, guys. Cheers.